All right, we're back. We're talking this time. We're going to do a deep dive into what is Author Nation. We got a conference coming up in November. You're going to want to be there. Make sure you go to authornation.live to pick up your tickets and find out more about that conference as it approaches. Got some huge industry guests showing up at this thing. We got some big names in general showing up at this thing. But we're gonna dive into the actual programming of the thing. We got the perfect people for that in the room right now. Joe and Chelle, both of you have been collaborating and conspiring. What can we expect?
Conspiring.
Is that another $5 word? Take a shot, everybody.
Yeah. That's actually an intentional word. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that quite well.
What can we expect coming up?
Well, I think that this could be the single biggest thing about the show outside of people coming there to network that makes it happen. We're going to be really focusing on how we structure our whole programming in respect to tracks. So like how you decide you should approach all the programming and making it very clear with domains, like what these different areas of expertise are that we think when you get better at them, you become able to achieve your better life. And we really kind of step back and, you think of the number of conferences that the three of us have been to, right?
Right.
And seen great stuff, in the industry, out of the industry, seen stuff that's like, oh God, if this person dropped dead on the stage right now, I could jump up and finish the slide deck.
Yeah.
Right. And we wanted to really think through how we could do something that's next generation, right? And so a lot of time that Chelle and I spent before it was even announced when she decided to come on as a programming manager for this was thinking through our audiences. And there's really three distinct audiences with Author Nation. We have folks that are coming there that are pre-published, and we call them
Pre-published. We call them. We have three names. We have the pre-published explorers, we have emerging storytellers, and we have inquisitive voyagers.
So the idea being is the folks that are just getting started.
Right.
We're going to help them to get that first book published. That's the first hurdle everybody has to clear in this industry to be in it, right? Then the next thing is folks that are published and are trying to get to some type of break-even point.
Right.
Right? Because even if money's not your objective, there has to be the business sustaining the business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to pay for covers and editing and all that stuff. And then after that, I think what's fundamentally different from any other shows is we're saying like, okay, now you decide what your path is. Like it's your best life. So look at these different areas and figure out. And if we do this great, you'll be able to go through and say, well, here I'm really kind of a beginner, but over here I'm kind of advanced. So I'm going to do both of these things, right? To get whatever your objectives are for the end of that show. And I think one of the great things that Chelle has been working on and can talk to it when I finally give somebody else a word here, is the idea of how to do that, like how to figure out where you're at. Because a lot of times what happens is you come to a show and it's just like, boom, here's all the people.
Right.
And then it's, I don't even know where to start, and this seems where I should be. It's like, let us help give you some guideposts.
Right.
Yeah. So we've intentionally designed a few things a little bit differently. One is we have kind of created an avatar for each of the different ones, but that's not to define you, and you're not stuck in that. It's just to give you, like Joe said, a guidepost so that you can say, all right, I am emerging. I am sort of beginning level for craft. Or marketing or advertising, but I am a rock star when it comes to creating and developing story characters or, some of the other things. So what we are trying to do is to create tracks that have clear objectives. The sessions will have clear titles and clear objectives for them. So when you evaluate those, you'll know very quickly, oh, yes, I can go to that session and I know what I'm going to get out of that session. That also allows our speakers to be able to more intentionally design that session. For example, there's nothing more frustrating than to go into a session that talks about advanced KDP tricks, and you have somebody in the audience that says, wait, what's KDP? Right? And then that throws the speaker off, because then the speaker feels like they have to take a moment to educate the whole group and bring everybody up to speed. What we would rather do is create sessions that you have an understanding of what your prerequisites, so to speak, need to be before you step into there. So if you're going to an advanced ads session, you already know how to get into your business manager. You already know how to get into your dashboards. You already know how to get into those things, and you don't have to, mess with starting from scratch. It's a win-win both for the speaker and for the participant. And then you're able to design your itinerary, so to speak, by making sure that you've got a clear understanding of what each session is about, and you can decide for yourself if that's a session that you should attend. The other thing that we're doing is we're making the sessions a little more tech-centric in some cases, so you will be able to do hands-on tech while you're in the session, and it's ambitious. Let me just state that off from the jump. It is ambitious to have tech, because you are, again, going to have people that are, technophobes and technophiles. You're going to have a range of things. But by designing the session so that the objectives are clearly labeled, you'll know, yes, you have to come in and know your username and password, and you're going to have to be logged into that whatever tech service it is before you jump into that. So philosophically, we're looking at more hands-on training. We're looking at having clearer objectives. We're looking at making sure that you're matched with the session that makes more sense. We're looking at having a tech cafe so that our vendors can have one-to-one and one-to-many sessions with folks so that they can explain a difficult concept. So if you want to learn about BookFunnel, for example, Damon can say, here's how to do it, or here's how to do this advanced thing, and you can go in for 30 minutes and just talk, one-on-one with those different vendors. So all of those things are big ideas, and we're just now starting to flesh out how to execute those. Thrillingly, I have an amazing education committee. These people have all pledged their heart and soul to me for the next 10 months to help make that a reality. So we have big ideas, but we have the best team possible to be able to execute that.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing structurally. Like, a lot of this stuff that we're talking about is fairly strategic and structural. Like, we have a committee. We have people that are going to be having some pretty spicy conversations about what should and shouldn't be at the conference, so that we get more diversity brought in, not just in people, but in ideas, right? Like, that's, from our perspective, we have to build this system where we can talk about controversial subjects in a way that allows people to get educated and make a decision on their own. We're not trying to sell you on AI. We're not trying to sell you on, a particular type of marketing. What we want to be able to do is say, come in and listen to this person talk, maybe two people talking that have different views, and you make your own decision.
Right. 100%. And we're coming at it from the journalistic perspective, right? From the magazine perspective, so to speak. So we are presenting facts, and we're coaching all of our speakers to not necessarily have a platform for advocacy or pushing an idea. They're there to present the facts and have science to support those facts. It's kind of like TED Talks, which is my background. That's where I live, is in the TED space. So if you have something that you want to say, we need you to back it up. And the education committee is going to be going through and vetting a lot of those more controversial, more spicy sessions to be sure that we can err on the side of journalistic integrity when somebody's speaking to that topic. We don't want to just put people up on a stage and let them rant or push their own ideas or their own agenda or their own product, which is a little bit different than what we're doing now too.
Yeah, and that was something I think we've been really clear on from the beginning, and probably is more of an issue with our speakers. Mm-hmm. And, we had a massive amount of feedback from the surveying we did from other conferences that said, hey, I'm tired of going in and, it's pitched one way and we've all seen these, right? And then it's like, oh, you gave me the prequel, but you didn't tell me the story. But the story I'm going to have to pay for in your course. We're not saying there's not going to be people there selling you stuff.
Right.
What we're going to do is we're going to make it clear, like, this is an industry guest. Come in and expect that they're either going to be demonstrating a product that they sell or they're going to pitch you something.
Yeah.
That's different from an invited guest, which is somebody that's doing something in the industry that they want to come share, right? So for the example of, an industry guest, I've always thought there's certain vendors, you mentioned BookFunnel and Damon, where if we're trying to get somebody on that first track to be ready to publish and to have a successful launch, learning how to do some really basic stuff in BookFunnel is almost required.
Right.
Right? Another, people that use Vellum, right? Having somebody go in there and having, one of the Brads teach them, like, come in with a manuscript and get like some basic things. When you leave this room, you're going to have it in Vellum and somewhat formatted and know how to use the tool. Doesn't that get them closer to publishing? Yeah, it does. Now, then the other side, there's advanced people, right, that are like, oh, I want to learn how to do cool stuff with the pagination and how to put an index in and stuff that they need to communicate the advances in their product.
Yeah. And so in that scenario, would Vellum do two different
Yes.
talks?
Two different talks, and they might be in smaller rooms, right? So we might cap that second session, and they might just be talking about how to put index images in there, and people are going to have to know how to format images or what kind of images they need. We might cap that at 10 or 15 or 20 people because that's the ideal for everybody to get the most out of that session. So the larger sessions, even with tech, are going to be overviews. They're not going to be you'll be hands-on as a participant, and you can expect some of our team can help you get connected to the internet, but you're still going to have the responsibility of keeping up. You're not going to be able to raise your hand and have somebody get one-on-one help during that session. And there's not going to be a lot of opportunity to ask specific questions, like for you specifically. We'll be sure that they're answering questions so that no one's deeply lost or, the majority aren't deeply in the weeds, but we'll have the tech cafes for smaller interactions and smaller engagements in different spaces and different times.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're doing with intention is we're leaving a little bit of space between sessions so that you can, if you've just come out of a tech-heavy session and you want to go sit and work on something for a few minutes to implement what you just learned instead of just rushing to the next session, right? We want to create some space and some buffer so that you have some time to implement some of the stuff that you've learned, because there's nothing worse than being completely overwhelmed by ideas and possibilities and then getting home and going, what was that about? It's too hard to FOMO's real, but also the post-con letdown is very real too.
Yeah.
There's a big bubble burst when you get done.
Now, are these are the sessions? Are they going to be recorded or available offline?
Boy, you just set me up for what I wanted to talk about.
All right. So, like a mother recognizing a certain look on her toddler's face, I looked over at Joe and said, "He wants to talk about." Go ahead.
No, it's great. Like you handed me the Fat Albert bat and put it right on the tee.
I had
for
a
me.
golf metaphor ready for you guys. Go on.
I think one of the things that's cool out of this change of going away from the live stream and going to recorded videos is we're going to have this kind of after party where for some of those technical sessions, what's going to be really empowering for everyone is the fact that, okay, somebody does a tech session, and they observe things that are happening there, or questions come up in that session afterwards that they get a second bite at the cherry when we run those recorded sessions, because we'll have virtual sessions with those speakers where they can then do Q&A for everyone. So if you had attended this show and you were like, oh, that was great, I sort of got these notes, I wasn't really sure what I was doing, I forgot this, that's going to be your chance to get some more information, and for the people that are delivering that information to, kind of come back with a consensus. So I had these 6 questions asked afterwards. So let me just get to this, and here's some shortcuts that I've got for you if that's your issue.
Yeah, it's gap training.
Yeah.
But it's also a way, again, a lot of times conferences can be overwhelming. It's a way for you to come back, absorb, think about it on the plane, come back to that after party session later and listen to that session again, and you're definitely going to pick up things that you missed the first time. It's just inevitable. Conferences are so overwhelming, and we've talked about this. One of the benefits is networking.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't want to. You can sit and chat with somebody in the hallway, knowing that session's recorded too. So
Right.
so you don't have to have FOMO, and you don't have to be overwhelmed. You're going to get what you need to get whenever you need to get it.
Right. Now, is that something additional that people, like, does everyone who paid for a ticket get access to that, or is it something additional?
So if you're a live session person, you're going to get all the videos. You're going to get access to the after party thing. That's the all-inclusive package. We will have a separate digital ticket for those that can attend. And the idea of that is to have it as a lower price point, because we're addressing two things, right? There's certain people that can't come to the show because financially it's not the right thing to do. Right, it just does. They'd be better to take that money that, even if they had it, rather than putting it in a plane ticket and going to Las Vegas and renting a room for a week. Put that into your book.
Yeah.
Right. Get the product out. Right.
Yeah.
There's also folks that have health challenges.
And then there's that piece, too,
that
yeah.
specifically can't, right? And we want to be as inclusive as we possibly can. We don't want them to miss out on that great information. This is the next best thing to being in person.
Yeah.
And I'm the first person to say, like, you really need to be thinking about what's the best use of your time. If you're not ready to do certain things in your career, like you haven't gotten to the point where, you need to start building that author network, then don't do that. Focus on getting the product out and finding the market. And I think a lot of that stuff is better suited for the remote sessions.
Yeah. Now, I'm not someone who typically ends up doing the remote stuff, but it would be special to me or comforting to me to know that I just paid for this ticket. I don't have to worry about these sessions that are you even going to have a conflict of sessions? Are there going to be multiple?
It's
sessions?
inevitable.
Right.
It's inevitable, right?
Right.
Like, we're going to try. Like, I think we've observed this at a lot of places where it's like, the only two sessions I really cared about today are at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Like, that just happens, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to try and minimize that. But once you start with the organizational structure that Chelle has come up with, and you lay out, okay, we have these tracks and we have these domains, and you have to start thinking like, okay, well, I don't want too many advanced sessions at the same time. Too many. You can start to plot this out a little bit better, and understand that, like, okay, well, let's not slam everything advanced all on the same day. You got to spread things across so that you can, I can do a little bit of craft, I can do a little bit of marketing. All that stuff becomes easier when you can, think about that for me, in a visual way, right?
I have a giant whiteboard. I have the biggest whiteboard ever. The other thing is because we're pretty tech heavy. So we're utilizing tech we will go out and have people vote on sessions. And so if we get somebody that votes 500 people want this particular session, then we know, hey, we can replicate that. And that speaker may be asked to speak a second time so that people aren't left out. So in the past, we've never had repeat sessions. We've never asked the speaker to give the same talk twice. This time we might. We might.
Within the same
within
week.
the same week.
Interesting.
Absolutely. Because
Oh.
we have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Yeah.
Right? We have 3 full days of
cool.
education sessions. So
Now there will be some tech stuff that will happen on Monday.
Right.
And so one of the things we're changing up is the Monday, which is usually the industry expo day.
Right.
We have all that space to use at Horseshoe. So rather than us just like throwing everybody in the one room and walking around the tables, we're going to be starting the conference off on Monday. So you're going to want to be there Monday. We'll kick off the industry expo a little bit later in the day and run it into the evening. So giving more time for people to socialize in that space. And so that will be in what used to be the salon area and the silver area. But we have those other rooms, the bronze rooms and the platinum rooms. So there are certain things that will be, rather than having somebody stand at their table and doing the same demo to one person 50 or 60 times, it'd be better for them to have one of those bronze rooms and do the demo once for everybody that needs to see the demo, because the demo is really why they're at that table.
it's a product tour.
Yeah.
Those will be specifically product tours.
Okay.
Not one-on-one help, not not really Q&A. They're going to be specifically product tours. But it's so that the authors don't have to feel like they're going to have to run a gauntlet through the
Right.
maze of tables real fast.
Yeah, so
They can structure it.
think about the idea of like you're going to decide on a writing tool, right? So there's Atticus, there's Scrivener, there's a bunch of these different tools out there, and you want to make a decision what you want to do. Well, to be able to give folks a chance to get that product tour on 2 or 3 of those and say, oh well, out of those, I really think this one is the right one for me.
Yeah. That's a pretty unique experience because normally you hear about all these things. You don't really get to do like comparison shopping.
Right. And traditionally our vendor days have been we haven't had electricity or Wi-Fi in that room because
Right.
there's too many people sucking that Wi-Fi. By restructuring some of our rooms, we've got dedicated internet access for those vendors to be able to do product tours. And we're going to structure it so that it's a little bit itinerant, meaning people could start with Plotter and then look at Scrivener or look at
Right.
Atticus. So there'll be kind of a way, and then you can look at editing software and you can look at Pro Writing Aid and, some of the others that are kind of there. So you can kind of plan your day around
Yeah.
that, and you can see which tools you want to learn about and take advantage of and hear straight from the source.
Yeah.
Right? Straight from the source. It's right there.
So does this take the place entirely of the whole industry day?
No.
So, okay.
No.
So there'll still be the tables where people can walk around.
How will I stand and wear a crown? I mean, that's the whole point of that day. is
I
to
just
be-
always assumed you were going to stand and wear a crown wherever you go.
I mean, I do, but
Actually, the tiara's in her car.
it is. That's just
That's
my
the driving tiara.
That's just
Yeah,
my
that's the driving tiara.
I have
All
a
right.
Monday tiara and a Tuesday tiara.
I some of the things that we've observed about the space and how we could do things, and talking to the hotel, and there's well, here's some things you could do. And for example, we were all at 20 Books last year, and I'm not the kind of person that gets claustrophobic, but like that first day with everyone checking in that salon space, it was getting dicey, right? It was a lot of people. There was 1,800 people that showed up that day. So just changing how we bring people in for registration, there's some things that we're going to do differently so that now what will happen is they'll go into that main expo room where we'll be set up for theater style the whole time. We'll do our networking and kind of hanging out there, sit down, do the opening session. That gives the vendors time to get their tables set up and get everything cool in that other space. And then we'll open that up and we can go into there. And now we have all this space to work around, and we'll have this kind of product tour stuff. And that'll be laid out in the schedule. But so there'll be, the point is there'll be a different way of kind of going through this process that some people may, gotten used to at the other show. And then the idea of some of the sessions will be pulled into Monday.
Here's the cool thing about it, though. We've learned what worked really well at the previous show, and part of that was the speed and efficiency of being able to check in and being able to get everything quickly. So we've got that same process and that same speed and that same efficiency a little bit elevated with QR codes, and then having space to bring people in so that it isn't just the crush right then.
Yeah.
And I think part of that too is we've all been conditioned now to stay 6 feet apart. Like it's just sort of ingrained in us now to create more space. So it makes people feel more comfortable and more welcome to be able to accommodate some of that, ingrained feeling that we all have now.
Yeah. I'm against making people feel welcome.
We know that.
so-
We know. That's why you're not on my committee.
There's a little bit of a shift this year as well. Now correct my understanding here, but there's going to be a slightly better or more enhanced reader focus as part of the conference. Is that?
Yeah, that's one of the, again, this gets at the structural big things that I've yet to meet an author that has told me they've got enough readers.
Yeah.
Right? Like, doesn't matter how many they have. They're like, I could fit a few more in.
I got one. That's my mom. We're fine.
So, and for me, that's where all the money comes from, right? And I know it's not just about money, but if we want to look at what really makes this whole thing work, is people willing to pay for a story. So what can we do to get more of those people to know about the authors that are there. So that was one of the reasons why we picked somebody like Kevin Smith to be a headliner. Not that he's going to come and school us on being an indie author. What he can do is he can bring his fan base who are into pop culture and do get into being pretty nerdy about things like story to come, and then you can do your best to scoop them up at the reader event. I'm trying to make the barrel of fish for you to shoot into.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah. Give everybody a better scattershot approach to.
Well, he also elevates the conversation to what is an indie, because while we all say indie author, it doesn't necessarily mean self-published. It means the spirit of independence. It means taking charge of your own career. It means choosing the methodologies and the systems and the processes and the retailers and every aspect of your career is a choice. He also brings a level of publicity and exposure and viewership that then makes Rave, when we lead into it the next day. So he's on Thursday night, and then on Friday we have our entire reader event day. And I'm most excited about this because it really is going to be more ways that people can engage. Rather than just a booth, we have spaces where people can have conversations. We're going to have spaces where the authors can have their own readings and sort of entertain some of their own readers and fandoms, and then people can move between those. Like it's a completely recalibrated experience for readers that's very reader centric, that the authors are just going to benefit from, because we're hoping to bring in far more readers of all different genres and have really incredible fun things for the readers to do, which leads us into Friday night.
Well, I think we'll wait till another session.
I'm just going to tease it. It's going to be cool.
So
and let's
circle back to this podcast.
We'll talk to Mandy about that.
So
find out what Friday night's all about.
But let's just say that the focus is on having a reader experience that's cool.
And we also have somebody for that specific event, Mandy Stevens, who's been running Orlando Reads Books for 9 years. For a while. So she's running that reader event, and she's going to have her own team and focus, and she's very, very busy right now figuring it out.
Yeah. So that was one of the questions I was going to actually kind of follow up with was, are there things happening that are meant to, because one of the problems of these reader events for me as an author has always been I'm one among 100 or 1,000 other authors. My books, my covers may not, be appealing enough. There's all kinds of things that sort of limit my discoverability. Are there tactics or strategies you guys are kind of putting into place to help with that? Yeah.
So again, I hope people see that everything that we're doing is author education in some extent. Like we're showing you how we're building a community. Get a little meta and look at what we're doing, right? That breaks down to, it's not just about teaching you how to format a book. We want you to decide what's your go-to-market strategy. And if you choose that you want to have live events to be part of it, we've got some amazing people that are rock stars at doing live events and want to show you how to do it. Like they get excited about how you can make this a core part of your marketing strategy. Now, it's not for everybody, but we want to use that to help people that want to do it and then make it better for everyone. So I think at some events, they can be, if there's too many people that have never done an event, it not only is it daunting for the people there, but like the reader, you're just not going to get the kind of readership showing up, right? So us kind of mixing in people, and our hope is we get you to the point where when you're ready, and then you come to the event. And so that's all to say that where in the past you just could get a table and show up, that's not the case anymore. You need to show that you indicate your interest in a table, and then Mandy's going to be curating that to help make sure we have the right mix of genres, we have the right mix of experience.
The other part is we have a whole slew of influencers that are very good at social media, very good at building fandoms, very good at building community, very good at being on camera and all of the things that go with that that are going to be part of the education committee, not the committee, but part of the education, so that they're teaching you how to do that and also showing you how to do that. So we might have people that are doing live podcasting, and you can sit in and
That'd be
watch them
excellent. Yeah.
how to do that. You'll be able to, we have some ideas for maybe Instagram walls where you can come and see how people take photos and how they set up their cameras to take cute selfies that you can put on social media. There's all kinds of little tips and tricks and opportunities and moments that we're going to be able to share throughout the conference through the education.
All right. Well, we're going to have to wrap up, but I'm already more excited about the Author Nation podcast than I was when I sat down. So this has been great. Make sure, everybody, if you're watching, if you're listening, that you slip on over to authornation.live, because that's where you're going to find out the when and where and how of this conference. You're not going to want to miss it. You heard the name drop. Kevin Smith is going to be there. So, that alone should draw a crowd. So make sure you click on over and check that out, and make sure you follow this podcast so you can get more information about what's to come. See you next time.
Bye.